Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. Welcome back to Basi F1. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. This is for all the people that have been showing me love lately, for those that have been liking, for those that have been subscribing, those that are friends. I really appreciate it. Like, you don't know what you're doing, like just basically liking this push it, the algorithm just pushes me more to more people so they can see what I am doing. So please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new as well. Yes, as you can see in the title of the video, this is your preview for the Chinese Grand Prix weekend, and it's also the first sprint race of the year. Now, if you had watched the last race, before I go into my predictions, let me give you uh, maybe like a little update of what has been going on in F1 of recent. So after the Australian Grand Prix on Sunday, so Formula One posted a graphic talking about overtakes, like, oh, we had more overtakes this year compared to last year. But some Formula One fans didn't take lightly to that. Of course, people will always complain about something, but in this case, I think it's kind of valid because me, myself, I complained about the way the cars behave, right? But then Formula One is using the graphic of, oh, most overtakes and all of that compared to last year. And for me, it doesn't make sense because, like, we have had races where there's not been a lot of overtakes, but it's been great racing. The great racing is what is lacking here because right now it's like an energy competition. Everyone saves their energy and they go to, maybe they overtake someone, the energy is done, next corner they're overtaken again. If you count that as an overtake, I don't know if we're going forward in that regard. But something Formula One did is that they have been hiding those comments, especially under that particular post, and deleting people's comments. Now, I don't know how to feel about, you shouldn't be deleting people's comments. Like, it's social media. People will always say something. I think it's better for you to just leave them to say what they have to say. But there is no point in you hiding it. It's just people expressing their disappointment with the new regs. Of course, Formula One doesn't want that because you don't want the negative perception to your sport. But then also, I think you already made a mistake in making the new regulations a 50-50 split. Formula One is not about electrical energy, and if the drivers are saying, oh, this is like a Mario Kart game, that's how they're driving, it doesn't make sense, right? So that's something that happened last Sunday. I think a lot of fans called it out. Deleting comments from fans because they're expressing their displeasure is not a way to go in Formula One, to be honest. But let's see if that will continue as a trend. But I think they might have learned their mistake because I don't think Formula One will probably let their social media team know to be, okay, hey, watch out for these comments and be deleting them. I don't think that's how they operate. I think maybe the person in charge at that time just felt like, oh, this is unnecessary, so I'm just going to remove it. But doing that actually brought more backlash on them. So it is what it is anyway. Also, Formula One, I think, will be making a few changes to the current regulations. This is due to the complaint of the drivers and the teams about the current regulations. As I told you just recently, the fans were complaining, the drivers are complaining, the teams are complaining. So Formula One will look into how they can improve the current regulations, but that will be after the Japanese Grand Prix. Now, there's no official confirmation about this, but whenever there is something, I will be sure to let you know. Also, apparently, the Bahrain Grand Prix and the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix might be cancelled. I think it will be cancelled, to be honest. If you've seen what is going on in the Middle East right now, the whole situation over there, there's a high chance that this Grand Prix is going to be cancelled because these two Grand Prix are right after Japan. Now, will they be replaced? We're yet to see that because, of course, if you're going to replace a Grand Prix, it's going to be expensive and all of that. And there's so much that goes into organizing a Grand Prix than just having a location, right? But if they will, I think I would suggest maybe bringing back Imola or Portimao or the Turkish Grand Prix. I think those are my top 3 options to replace them. But although we already have a big calendar, it's 22 races if you take out those 2. So there might be no need to actually replace those races. Just take it as a break and more break for the engineers, more break for the drivers, more break for the team. So gives them more time to even do more testing on their cars and all of that. So let's see what happens. But if anything changes, I'll let you know. So let's get into the predictions itself proper. So as you know, this is a sprint weekend. So in sprint pole position, okay, I'm gonna go with Max Verstappen. This honestly, I don't know if this will even come true because the way that Mercedes is fast on one lap, the pace of that Mercedes on one lap, I don't think anyone is beating it. But Haja came third in qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix. I think if Max Verstappen made it to Q3, I think he could have done something better. So I would like to see him challenging because, I mean, they just have one sprint session, one free practice session before the sprint qualifying. So let's see what Max Verstappen can do there. But he is my pole position for the sprint race. And for the podium for the sprint race, that is the top three. In P3, I am going Max Verstappen because I honestly don't see him holding back those Mercedes for that long. That is even if he gets pole, right? So he might try, but you know the energy deployment stuff. You overtake. Maybe he would just be another overtake. You overtake me, I overtake you again. But I think at a certain point his tire is gonna wear off, and you saw what happened to him. I think the Red Bull is pretty hard on his tires because if you saw what happened to him in Australia, he tried to pursue Lando Norris for P5, yeah, for P5 in the race, but after he pitted onto harder tires and tried to catch up, I think Lando just. Lando's tires were not too old as well because it was just, I think maybe three lap older mediums compared to Max Verstappen's tires. So, but the Red Bull is quite hard on its tires for sure. So I don't see him making like defending the Mercedes and like maintaining his position. In P2, I'm going to go with George Russell. Yeah, George Russell in P2. I don't need to go into details on this one. They have the best car on the grid. So it's either him or Antonelli. And in P1, I'm going with Kimi. Let's see if this will come true because Kimi had a rough weekend last week. So after crashing in FP3, the car being repaired, qualifying P2, and having a bad race start, having to come all the way. I think he dropped up to P5 or P6 or something like that, and he overtook and came back and still finished within 3 seconds of George Russell. I think George should keep his eyes open because I think Antonelli is the real deal, to be honest. But let's see Antonelli for the sprint win. Now for the race pole position, I'm still going with the Mercedes drivers, to be honest. George Russell to win, not to win, to get the pole position. I don't know. They're going to win everything, to be honest. Based on the car they have, what we've seen in Australia, honestly, I think it will, except if they have a DNF or maybe a late safety car that changes the complexity of the race and all of that. I don't see anything affecting the Mercedes, like they will run away with everything. So for the race itself, the pole position will be George Russell. And on the podium, I am predicting this again. P3, Lewis Hamilton to have his first podium for Ferrari. He won the sprint race here last year, although the car was illegal then because, of course, they were running the car so low and skid plates were skidding, and you know what happened. They were disqualified. Even though he won the sprint race, but for the race, even though he finished, I think, P4 or P5 in the race, they were disqualified. Him and Charles Leclerc were both disqualified. So, but given what he showed in Australia, finishing 0.6 behind Charles Leclerc, I think a few more laps he will have gotten Charles, but that didn't happen. But I hope he has an amazing race this weekend. It will also be good for his confidence, to be honest, because it's been a while we've seen Lewis Hamilton on an F1 podium. So fingers crossed it happens. P2 in the race, I'm going to go with Kimi Antonelli. As I said, it's going to be the Mercedes drivers. They're probably going to run away with this, except if they have a DNF or something happens, or maybe a crash, whatever, mechanical failure. That is the only thing that removes Mercedes from winning at least the first 3 races until maybe Formula One does something about the regulations that brings in the other teams. And for the winner of this race, I'm going to go with, say it after me, George Russell. Yes, George Russell to win this race. If he starts on pole just like last week, he's probably going to win the race. But don't count out Ferrari. Don't count out Ferrari. Given what Leclerc was able to do against George Russell there, Yeah, I think there's a little bit of hope. It depends. Just a little bit of hope. Let's wait and see. But for my flop for this week, going into the flop, I mean, we could easily say Aston Martin, but I'm not gonna call Aston Martin this week. I'm gonna transfer that to another team. My flop for the Chinese Grand Prix weekend would be Williams F1 team. Now, last week they had so many issues with the engine. Hopefully, this week that doesn't repeat itself because that was Sainz. I think Sainz didn't partake in qualifying. That's why he started, I think, P22. Him and Lance Stroll didn't partake because I think P21 or P22, whatever position, they were there together. And also, in the race they had more issues as well. I think also there was no pace, but let's see what happens to them. Hopefully they have been able to explore the Mercedes engine. I think this is also something McLaren and Mercedes were and McLaren and Williams were complaining that they were surprised by the things the Mercedes was doing, given they have the same engine, but they are not having that same level of performance. So I mean, I think 1 week is a short time for them to explore all of that, given they've not been on track. But let's see if any of them, maybe McLaren or Mercedes, will come up with something ingenious that will help them to explore what the Mercedes are hiding, right? And my crazy prediction for this week will be for Aston Martin to finish the race. Both Aston Martins to finish the race. That I mean, we know they are having issues with their car. Okay. I mean, kudos to Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll did the Australian Grand Prix even though he knew he wasn't competitive. He finished 12 laps down. It was so bad, but I honestly commend him for just showing up and doing what he could. I mean, people are actually very quick to insult someone like Lance Stroll. Oh, that is money, blah blah blah. This one, that one. He doesn't deserve to be in F1. But honestly, do you know how humiliating it has to be for you to just drive around, even though you know you are not competing? Everybody has gone and left you behind. You were just there to gather data, and he still went and finished the entire race. So kudos to him. To be honest, I really like I know people slander him a lot, but they should also give him credit when credit is due. So yeah, that being said, those are my predictions for the Chinese Grand Prix. Let me know what you think in the comment section. What are your predictions? Who do you think will be on pole for the sprint and for the race itself? If you've watched up till now, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And I'll see you in the watch along. Yes, I'll have watch along for most of this. I mean, there's only one free practice session. So for the rest of the sessions, they'll be competitive. So I'll definitely be doing my stream. So I'll see you then. Take care of yourself. Be safe.